Charlie Daniels in 3. After Charlie Daniels.
How goes it?
Will Cain.
Will, pleasure,
Nice
man.
to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
We're
Thank you.
glad to have you here.
Glad to be here, buddy.
You are, you're playing my neck of the woods next week.
Where's that?
Durant, Oklahoma.
Oh, yeah.
Choctaw Casino?
Oh, yeah. I married a girl from Oklahoma. Tell us I'll be married.
Well, now I got to be clear. I'm from the right side of the Red
If
River.
you can just go right on up through with that, please.
Yeah.
If you can go up through
Yeah,
the...
yeah, let me drop that down, too. I think we probably this thing. She's from Tulsa. We got married there 50 years ago. Hey, I went in September.
50 years.
50 years.
You're not.
It's going to work.
You're going to make it?
I do believe so.
Yeah, Texas. No, there's a right and wrong side to that river.
Well, now, are you orange or red when it comes to football season?
Orange as it gets.
Really? Oh, you do have a hard time out there right where you're at. You want me over here?
Yes, sir. Let me ask you this, Charlie. I want to. What do you think of Devil Went Down to Georgia?
What do I think of it?
Do you like that song?
I do. I think it's been a real career builder for me, certainly. It's our signature song, basically.
You know, I saw Waylon Jennings once at the House of Blues in Los Angeles, and the crowd was chanting, "Lukenbach, Texas, Lukenbach, Texas," over and over. And he walked over, took a drink of whatever brown water he had sitting over there. And he came back to the microphone. He said, "I'm going to tell y'all a secret. I hate that damn song." Now, I'll tell you, his language was a little saltier than mine just now.
Yeah.
But I guess from playing it so many times, he just didn't like that song anymore.
I don't feel that way about it. Let me tell you, our band does a lot of our music is based on instrumentation. I mean, playing together. And I get a chance to play it better tonight than I did last night and better tomorrow night than I did tonight. And I have never played it perfect yet. And there's a lot of room for improvisation in our band. I can play it any way I want to. If I want to change a part, I can change a part as long as I stay within the arrangement. So, no, I hadn't been bored in 10 years.
What happened 10 years ago?
Nothing. I don't even remember. I'm just playing it safe and said maybe 10 years ago I was bored.
But look, you've been inducted into the Grand Ole Opry. You're in the Music Hall of Fame. You have had platinum and gold albums. But when people say Charlie Daniels, they say Devil Went Down to Georgia.
Of course they do, yeah.
I mean, is it odd to have all your body of work, and that is the one thing that people seem to recollect right away? Charlie Daniels, Devil Went Down to Georgia.
If I want to go downstairs and look at all those triple platinum albums hanging on the wall, that don't bother me a bit. I mean, I've got, we've had other albums that went platinum and multi-platinum that did not have that song on it. So it's not a one-dimensional situation, though it appears to a lot of people. If you were to go to Sydney, Australia, and talk to somebody and said, "You know Charlie Daniels?" and they'd say, "Yeah, he's the guy that had Devil Went Down to Georgia." And when you know anything else of his, maybe they may no longer country boy for a fan, or maybe that's all they've ever heard. But that's okay. It don't bother me. I mean, as long as they know something, that's good. That song is a song that we have to play every night. People would feel cheated if we didn't, and I'd feel like I cheated them if I didn't play it for them.
Did you know when you recorded that we've got a hit right here? This one's a hit?
I didn't know. You can never say that. You can't never say this is going to be a hit. I had a good feeling about it. The AOR, album-oriented radio, was really big back in those days, and that was our bread and butter. So I did 2 versions of it. I did one SOB version. I done told you once you SOB, and one son of a gun version. I tell people I did a Baptist version and a Methodist version. I won't tell them which is which.
Well, I'm the Methodist, so I know which is which. So you didn't know it was a hit. Did you retain the publishing rights to Devil Went Down to Georgia?
I did, and then partner and myself split up, and we owned the publishing company, and so we got rid of our assets. But oddly enough, Congress has finally done something right in the copyright situation, in that copyright, the 14th of April this year, returns to me.
Returns to you.
Returns to me. It's a certain amount of time, along with some other copyrights too. It's not just that one, but the copyrights that have been held by a publishing company from a certain, I can't remember the exact period. It's a certain amount of years and a certain amount of time, and a certain period of time. But those copyrights come back after the 14th.
Well, the reason I asked about the publishing rights is, I mean, theoretically, it's possible for an artist to financially survive on one song. I saw that Sting's Every Breath You Take over its lifetime has generated $20 million. I think Roy Orbison's Pretty Woman is something similar, $20 million. And I wondered if Devil Went Down to Georgia's become mailbox money for you.
Well, it has. But it's. I mean, it's not. I would hate to put depend for my whole living on it. No, but it has been. It's been. Well, we've had some other stuff that have sold really well. Besides that, I mean, it's not been just that one song.
Trust me, I want to talk about a lot of them, but that's the one, like you said, you go to somebody in Australia.
I would be surprised if you didn't talk about that one. I would think it was a bogus interview if you didn't talk about it. But it is definitely is the song that stays around. I mean, this song is 1979.
And it's on every jukebox. It's covered by every country band. It can play the fiddle.
One of my proudest moments was I was in Holland. We were playing over there, and I was someplace or another, and I walked in a club, a bar, and they had it on the jukebox. And I thought, man, this is just great. Old country boy from North Carolina got a song on the jukebox in Holland.
That is cool. You brought up another song that raises my favorite one, to be honest. Long-Haired Country Boy is my favorite song of yours. Just reading about you, Charlie, and keeping up over the years with you, you can tell me if I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It seems to me like something changed in your life in the late 1970s, 1980 early. You've got songs like Long-Haired Country Boy. I get stoned in the morning, drunk in the afternoon. Politician wants another vote. I don't want much of nothing at all, but I will take another toke. But now, faith is the main thing you talk about. Did something happen in the late 70s?
Well, I have always been a believer, but I have been trying over a long period of time to walk closer to Jesus Christ, to get more in line with God's will for my life. And there's some things. When I did those lyrics, they were tongue in cheek to me. They were just cute lyrics, And the alcohol and drug problem, has gotten so bad amongst that they keep getting younger and younger and younger that get into problems with alcohol and drugs. And I have no desire to be a part of that. If it means changing the lyrics to some of my music to keep from being a part of it, I do it. I say I get up in the morning, get down in the afternoon. And I say all kinds of things. We'll rope another goat or, something like that. But it doesn't hurt the premise of the song, because the premise of the song is you feel one way, I feel another way. No need to fight about it. Let's just leave me alone. I'll leave you alone. We'll do fine. We'll get along good with each other. That's what the song is basically about. And then, it's not a drug song or an alcohol song per se.
Well, you talk about changing the lyrics, though, but did you change yourself as well? Did that song ever reflect you? Did it reflect you? Was drinking and part of your life at that time?
It did not reflect my total lifestyle by any means, but there was a part of my life that it did reflect, yes, definitely. I mean, when I was younger, I partied a lot more than what I do now. I can't party now,
Those days are behind you?
Yeah, I could, even if I wanted to, which I have no desire to, I could not physically do it. I could not do that.
The other thing about that time period that I'm fascinated by, as I said, there seemed to be a shift in the focus of your music, but also maybe your politics. Now, I don't know, but I did read that in the late 70s, you supported Jimmy Carter. You played his inauguration, did you not?
We did indeed. Jimmy Carter was a good man. Washington, both his party and the other party together ate him up. I mean, I'm not taking up for anything he did during his presidency at all, because I'm sure there are some things that he did that I was not happy about, and I'm sure he would probably, in retrospect, not be happy about it either. But if you stop and look back at the times that we were facing, we were coming out of Watergate. We had gone through a really bad period of time, and the trust in the office of the presidency had just gotten to nil. There was just nothing there. People had no respect for the office. They had no trust in the office. And here comes this fresh, pretty young guy from
Southern guy,
definitely from Georgia, and says, I looked at a TV camera and says, I will never lie to you. I don't believe he ever did. I don't think Jimmy Carter ever told a lie to people. To me, his legacy is Camp David Accords. Camp David Accords, how many lives did it save? And it's kind of falling apart now. But from the time that he did it to very recent times, how many lives were saved by that? By getting Israel and Egypt to be at peace with each other. So everything, when people people look back at the Jimmy Carter presidency, they pick out all the bad things that happened, the weaknesses and that sort of thing. But he did some good things too. He brought some credibility back to the office of the presidency, and he did the Camp David Accords. If it's just those two things, it was a worthwhile thing.
I don't know how many country music singers can rattle off the tenets of the Camp David Accords. I've read Charlie's Soapbox, by the way, on your website. I mean, you're well versed on Ukraine, on the economy. You're throwing around the Camp David Accords from the late 1970s. What do you read? I mean, how do you stay so up to it?
Basically, I kind of watch the news. I watch the outlets that I feel like tell me the truth. I watch the outlets that I feel like don't omit a lot of the stories, a lot of the issues that come up that you don't hear about on the networks. That's what amazes me a lot of times. And we talk about mainstream media, which what they do is sometimes it's not so much what they actually do as what they don't do. There's things that happen that let's take the Benghazi thing for instance. That turns a new page in American history. In my book, I come from World War I. I remember the day Pearl Harbor was bombed. My formative days were during the World War I, when everybody was totally red, white, and blue. Everybody was patriotic. I was born in Wilmington, North Carolina, which is a seacoast town. We had German U-boats sinking ships just off our shore. We had air raid drills. We had blackouts. We had rationing. The war was very real to us. And I learned very early in my life that two things protected America. It was the grace of God and the United States military. And that code of no man left behind has been something that has been there. There have been many, many people who have died to keep from leaving any one person behind, no man left behind. Somebody in this administration gave an order for nobody to go in and try to get these guys out. Now, they say they didn't have time. How were they to know they didn't have time to start with? I have, going through other sources, if you read the mainstream media, you see there was no way to do it. That's a lie. There was ways to do it. There were people, I've had communications and people said, we could have gotten a plane there. But even if you were late, even if you weren't there on time, to show a force of strength, to send a troop in there and land it on the ground and bring a bunch of guys in battle gear and surround that place, and, what would that would have meant something. That would have said, we've come after these guys. If they're alive, we're going to take them back alive. If they're dead, we're going to take them back dead. We're coming to get them, and you SOBs are going to turn loose of them right now. What would that have meant? It would have meant America was being strong. America was doing what it should do, and no man left behind. That did not happen.
When has America been its strongest?
Well, there's two ways of looking at it. If you think of military strength, I would say during the Reagan era. If you're saying as far as being really united was during the Second World War, everybody's patriotic. I mean, I didn't know anybody. I didn't know anybody in my youth. I didn't know anybody that didn't believe in God. I did not know atheists. I heard about them, but I never saw one. There was nobody that was not into the war effort in where I was from.
You mentioned, just in the course of these last couple minutes, you mentioned the bombing of Pearl Harbor. Mm-hmm. I know you've talked about the Iran hostage crisis. Mm-hmm. September 11th, Benghazi. What do you think? You've been alive for 77 years. Mm-hmm. You've been watching politics, 50, 60 years, more. What's the low point then?
I think we're living in it. I do. What disgusts me about the people who are so vehement about taking up for President Obama. I have nothing against President Obama. People say you're a racist. No, I'm not a racist. I know what racism is. I came up during the Jim Crow days. I know about racism. I came out of it myself. I learned for myself. I learned for myself that I am no better than nobody. That the color of somebody's skin or that whatever nationality they come from does not reduce them one iota below my station in life. They have the same thing I do. I know about it. No, I'm not a racist. Well, you don't like him because he's a liberal. I got nothing against liberals as long as they do right. I don't care if it's a D or R beside somebody's name. It makes no difference to me. But look at it like this: results. What have been the results? You shall know them by their fruits. What is the fruits of the Obama presidency? What have we had? We're talking about Benghazi. We're talking about, you can talk about IRS. You can talk about spying on people. You can talk about all of these things that have gone on, and not one thing that has happened during his administration has been dealt with. Not one.
Yeah, but Charlie, I spend my living talking about politics. Child of the Depression. As you said, you remember the day Pearl Harbor was bombed? I know I've heard you talk about September 11th and how it actually brought the country together, but you see this today as our low point.
I do. I think what's going on, and one of the bad things about it is we had made such great strides toward racial harmony for a long time. I mean, we had been marching in that direction, and I know, I came from the Deep South. It had a long, long way to go to reach any kind of parity, to reach any kind of equality at all. It had a million miles to go, and we have traveled so many of them. And if there ever was a president that had a chance to bring this country together racially, socially, in every way, he had all the tools in his hands to do it. He even had a Congress and the Senate that was in his hands to do it. I mean, it was, if he just said, first of all, what we've got to do is, let's quit looking at the right hand side of somebody's name to see if it's got a D or an R beside it. Let's do this. Let's work together. Let's really work together. Let's get colorblind. Let's be America. We're Americans first, and whatever race or whatever we happen to be second. If a president ever had an opportunity to do that, it was this one, and he went and squandered it all on this unworkable piece of socialism called Obamacare. This cannot work. There is no way that this can work. It's designed, it's got structural damage to start with. It cannot work.
It's not just politics. You seem to know a lot about it. I mean, you and I were joking when you were walking in about the orange you root for versus the orange I root for. I've seen you talk about, just throwing names around, LaDainian Tomlinson, Sean Alexander, talking about the character of those guys. You were extolling their virtues.
Yes.
Tennessee Volunteers. You're a huge sports fan as well. It takes me back to your day. I know how much reading I have, and I am as well on the sports front. I know how much reading I have to do for politics, sports, to stay as up as I am on it. What's your day like? Take me through your day.
Well, I have two different kinds of days. If I'm at home, it's one day. If I'm at home, I may get up and, do my exercise and go get on a four-wheeler and go down to the pond and fish, or go back and, I love to shoot.
What's your exercise?
I ride a exercise bike, one of those with the handles on it, and I walk. Sometimes I try to do half-hour to hours worth of aerobics a day. I do a little stretching, try to keep my old 77-year-old bones, strung out good. But if I'm on the road, it's a different situation. We've usually traveled overnight 45 to 600 miles, and we get into an area where we're going to play. And I wake up in a motel parking lot, and we take a bike, one of those bikes, and a walking machine, a treadmill on the road with us, and the crew sets it up in the hotel room for us every day. My wife uses a treadmill. I use the bike. We go on an exercise, and I come back out, and I write 2 columns a week for our website, and that takes some time. And I've always got music going on.
You tweet a lot.
I do tweet a lot.
What is it about Twitter you love?
Instant communication. I came from the day of the dial telephone, and we literally had one of these. Hello, Gladys, give me, we literally had one of those. They did exist. They're not just a cliche. But to me, to have a phone in your hand, that's not wired to anything, you can talk to anybody in the world. And so Twitter's the same way.
You've got a lot to say. Between your columns on your soapbox, between Twitter, I wonder almost, did you get into songwriting because you had things to say? Was it the music or the message that got you into this?
Oh, it's the music. Always. My first, rather than trying to do any kind of social comment or anything at all, unless I'm writing religious music, unless I'm writing hymns, which has got a definite message and a definite mission, my first intention is to entertain. I'm an entertainer. That's what I am. That's what I have always wanted to be and what I've aimed my life toward being. I want to entertain my songs. I want to entertain my stage shows. So everything that I approach insofar as the music industry is concerned is to entertain. Now, if something's on my mind, like I've had some songs like In America and Simple Man and those sorts of things, that's just things that come on my mind, but they're still entertaining when you do them. They're not some old droll piece of music. It's the people are gonna say, I don't want to hear that junk, man. Even if it has got a message to it, it means nothing. But if you make it, entertaining, you can get your message across and your entertainment point. But my main aim is to entertain.
Oh, I saw you say there's a lot of unemployed musicians.
There is.
Aren't very many unemployed entertainers.
That's right. That's very true.
What's the difference?
Well, there's a world of difference. It's like the difference between me sitting here as a guest of yours. You ask me a question, I say yeah, no, maybe, or I elaborate. I would
So
not
take me
be
on the stage. You got music to play, and to make it more than music for me, what do you do on stage? Talk to the audience?
I talk
dance?
to the audience. No, I can't dance much anymore. I kind of move around a little bit because I can't. I feel it when I play. I feel it. I move. I got the best band I've ever had.
Today?
Yeah, today. There is a big part of doing a show is the sequence of the songs. I go see bands sometimes, especially young bands, and I think, boy, I wish I could put a set together for you, because you're starting out off with your dynamite, and then you kind of go downhill from there. You want to start here and kind of do this, and then you want to be here when you finish. So you sequence your songs in that way. And I try to say things. I'll tell stories about songs, or I introduce the guys on the stage. They do some stuff. We do an instrumental that features everybody, and it's just entertainment. It's like I try to keep it moving. And when you get up, you've sat there an hour and a half, and you get up, you say, darn, I had a great time. When they come back next year, I'm going to see them again. See, that's your stock in trade. I always say you can't go around but once. Music industry, you go around year after year after year, and I'm in my 56th year now. And we're still going around, so you got to entertain people to do that.
I hope you forgive me, Charlie, but I'm watching you sitting here telling me the story, and I just noticed you lost the end of that finger. How'd you do that?
I lost it on a ripsaw in high school. I was almost out of school. I'm not good with machinery.
Don't let that stop you.
I have no business. There it is. I have no business messing with machinery. And we were building something for a senior play. I went to a small school, and there's 23 people in my graduating class. We were going to build something to graduate with. And I took a piece of wood and pushed it across, and then I turned it loose on this side, and it raked my hand back through. And I cut this finger off. I cut this one in half. This right here.
Right.
And I tore the ball off of this one and cut this one right there in half.
Did the one you lose, did you see the tip of it there? Was it
I
sitting
didn't
there
look
for you to
for
grab it? You didn't look for it?
No, some guys found it after I left. But it was back in the day. Now, this happened in 1955, and it was before they started, being able to glue things back on and reattach everything. But it was the hospital was like 12 miles away, and when I got there, the only two surgeons in town, this was the biggest town in the area, Sanford, North Carolina, which is not a big town, but there was a hospital and doctors there. And the only two doctors that were capable of doing anything about my finger were both in surgery. It was going to be a while before they come down. I will never forget, if most things from 1955, I could not tell you somebody's name. There was a little nurse by the name of Miss Ballard, and she knew I was hurt, and she got permission to give me a shot. I think it was belladonna or something that made the pain go away. Now, this thing felt like it was in a vice, and somebody just kept. So I will always remember that. And they came down and fixed it up.
Did it ever hold you back on the music side?
No, if it had been on this hand, it would have. I can't say I never would have played again, but it would have been extremely hard, because missing one of these digits would be tough. Missing one on this hand, I use these two fingers and thumb pick to play with. Now I used to hold a pick like this, but it really don't bother me.
Let's talk about Bob Dylan. Your new album
Okay.
is a cover of Bob Dylan songs. So what made you want to do that?
I'm a big Bob Dylan fan, for one thing. In 1969, I was a Dylan fan before 1969, but Dylan came to town to do an album called Nashville Skyline. And I came to town in 67, and I was scrambling. I was working a nightclub. I was doing anything I could to make a living. I had a family. And I was trying to work sessions once in a while. And Bob Johnston, the producer, the guy that produced Bob Dylan and Simon and Garfunkel and Johnny Cash and Marty Robbins and so on and so forth, he's the guy that brought me to town. And I said, is there any way I could play on a Dylan session, just so I can always say I played on a Dylan session? As it so happened, the guitar player, there was 15 sessions, I think, booked to do this album. The guitar player that they were going to use on all of them could not make the first one. He was booked on the first one, so they let me come in. So I got through playing. I hung on every word that came out of Dylan's mouth, every note he played on his guitar. I was right there, just interpreting the very best I could, and staying out of the way at the same time. You had to do that. So I was packing my guitars up, getting ready to leave, and Bob Dylan asked Bob Dylan. He said, "Where's he going?" He said, "He's leaving. I got another guitar player coming." He said, "I don't want another guitar player. I want him." That was a euphoric statement to me, and the most important 9 words in my career.
In your career?
Yeah,
At that point,
that time, yeah, because
at that point, you'd already had a song recorded by Elvis Presley.
yeah, but I mean that's here today and gone tomorrow. I mean, it's like this in this world. It's like what have you done lately? What have you done today? I don't care about 6 years ago. That's beside the point. But it was in the day of the expanding music. I mean, when I say expanding music, I'm talking about freedom in music that Bob Dylan was responsible for bringing into. You got to stop and think, this guy was before the Beatles. He was before most of the people that we think of as being innovators. He was the innovator. He changed the face of popular music more than anybody ever has, and we're still reaping the benefits from that now.
What do you think's so special about Dylan?
I think he does what he wants to without interference from anybody. I don't think he will refuse to be put in a box by a record company or a manager or a booking agency or anything else. He is Bob Dylan. He's multi-talented guy. I mean, we've seen different facets as the time. People say he reinvents himself. I don't think he reinvents himself. I think it's just another side of it, facet of his talent that he turns.
How was it meeting Dylan in person? I mean, we put these people on pedestals. You said you kind of revered Bob Dylan. I've met people that I've thought a world of, right? And then you meet him in person. Sometimes it lives up to it. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes they're nice. Sometimes they blow you off. I know those 9 words changed your career, but how was he as a person?
It surpassed everything good that you had just got through saying, because I had heard all these things about the eccentricity, about the standoffishness and all this stuff, and I didn't know what to expect when I went to the studio. Totally, completely different person than all the stuff that this image that people had tried to make this aloof genius, he was just down to earth as he could be.
Have you guys stayed in touch?
Sense of humor. I talked to him on the phone about 3 weeks ago, but we don't stay in touch. I just very seldom ever run into him. But I wanted him to know about the record, and how much it meant to me to be able to be on his albums early.
I saw a clip of you on YouTube. You were playing Long-Haired Country Boy. It's from the 70s. And I don't remember the show. Something, and the guy said as an introduction to you, said, "I want to introduce a man now who's as comfortable sitting down with the Rolling Stones in L.A. as he is with Willie Nelson in Texas." Is that true?
We've played with both of them. We played with Rolling Stones. We played with Willie Nelson. We've played with Eric Clapton. We've played with, one week we could do a country show, and next week we do a rock show. But that's us. Right. I don't put any boundaries on our music about what we play and what we do. I sometimes mix genres within the bounds of one song. I'll do 3 different genres of music.
Was there ever anything where you're like, my politics, my religion, my faith, they don't mix with these guys behind the scenes, backstage?
I never hung out with them backstage. I never even met the Rolling Stones. I met Eric Clapton. I went back, made it a point to go back and say hi first night of the tour and last night of the tour. But I didn't, we didn't really hang out. And I don't, people have got a right to do what they want to. It's not going to affect what I do. We live in the world. The world's going to go on. If you're going to, whatever kind of life you're living, you've got to live it in the midst of everybody else. You got to be who you are. If you're going to be affected by, I'm not going to sit down and look at somebody and say your lifestyle sucks. You're a pagan or you're this or that. If they want to talk to me about Jesus Christ, about what he means in my life and what my faith means to me, and how convinced I am that there is a merciful, wonderful God, I'll be glad to talk to him about it. I'll even initiate the conversation if it comes to that point. But I associate with people all the time that don't believe the same way I do. I'm not supposed to go in and start hammering them with a sledgehammer. I don't feel that way. I think Christians basically should, first of all, set an example. But the Bible says if you treat people like you want to be, the golden rule, you know what it is. That's the law and the prophecy and the commandments wrapped up in a nutshell. So that's where we start. It also says if you confess with your mouth the Lord Jesus and believe it, that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. That's the starting places, That's but first of all, am I worthy to call myself a Christian? Am I worthy to, no, I'm not. I'm not worthy. I'm not receiving anything from God that I'm worthy of. And He has been extremely good to me. But if I could affect somebody by reacting to a situation in a different way than what most people would, that I would not get mad if I had a right to get mad, but I would say, that's okay, it's all right. Or somebody insults you and you say, hope you change your mind, but, that's what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm supposed to be, God has given me responsibility. I got 30 people that work with me and have had for many, many years. We have a health care plan. We did. I hope we still got it after this.
You're under 50 employees. You should be all right.
Yeah, but I take it very seriously. I take my job very seriously. I take seriously all the people, their families. If they have a tragedy in their family, it affects me. I mean, I've lost a couple of people. I had my keyboard player been with me for 40 years. Got killed in a car wreck. I mean, these things you take very much to heart. That's what I'm doing. What I'm supposed to be doing.
Did you ever wonder if it wasn't going to happen for you? You talked about the 9 words that Dylan gave you in '69. I know you wrote the Elvis hit in '63, but you really broke through what it would be like 74, 75.
74 with an album called Fire on the Mountain was the first hit album we had.
And before that, you had Uneasy Rider, about a year or so before that. Between that period, between when you first got into this in the late 50s and that breakthrough album in the mid 70s, did you ever wonder, is this ever going to happen for me?
You do wonder. I mean, you do, but the thing about it is you set your parameters, or I should say your goals, basically, and you head in that direction, and you just do it day after day, night after night. I mean, if you're gonna be thin-skinned, I have young people all the time ask me about a career in music, because they know I've been doing it a long time. Everybody thinks that's what they want. They want to be around. Longevity was always very important to me. But they'll ask me about it. I'll say, look, first of all, make sure this is what you want to do. Because you're seeing the glamour, and it's there, but that's only the tip of a very big iceberg. All the other stuff that's down below it, the disciplines, the sacrifices, the being away from your family. I've been away from my family as long as 16 weeks at the time. That you have to go through to build a career. And then what you got to go through to maintain a career, because you never, ever have it made.
You never had a moment, even after that Dylan moment, or even after Uneasy Rider or Long Haired Country Boy, or even in '79 when Devil Went Down to Georgia came out? Did you ever have that moment where you're like, okay, I've arrived, I've made it, I'm going to be safe?
No. You think, that's nice, now what do I do? You got to always be thinking ahead. I went back and cut another platinum album after being my Reflections. I went back and cut an album within America and Legend of Willie Swamp on it. And it's sold, maybe double platinum, but now I don't know. But that's what you do. You go back the next time and you try to outdo what you did the time before. We've never been able to outdo Devil Went Down to Georgia, but we just keep trying. That's the thing. You never rest on your laurels. You can't do it in this business. If you do, it's just like you just step aside and let the world walk around you. You're just going to a point and stop, and the world just goes by. The music world goes by. It moves very fast.
Who's the best entertainer? I mean, you've put a lot of emphasis on entertainment tonight, talking about how you entertain someone. Who does the best job in your estimation?
Elvis was a great entertainer. He started out that way. He set a fashion style and a singing style and a lifestyle and everything. He bought 6 Cadillacs. I mean, that's every country boy's dream, One pink Cadillac would have been great for me, but now this guy goes by 6. He lived the Cinderella life, and he did it in public. He did it, in front of all of us. And when he got on stage, he was just dynamite.
What about today? When you look at entertainers today, who do you think's doing the best job?
Michael Jackson was probably, if I had to pick an entertainer of entertainers, it would be Michael Jackson. He had the whole package. There are little Jimmy Dickens. I don't know if you know Jim. You remember Jimmy Dickens?
I don't.
He's member of the Grand Ole Opry. He's 92 years old now, 93. This man was one of the people that inspired me. My dad took me to see him in a theater in Spartanburg, South Carolina, when I was in the 7th grade, I think. I couldn't play a chord on the instrument. I knew nothing about playing music at all. All I knew was, whatever that guy's doing, I wish I could do it, because he was making people happy. People sitting out in the crowd laughing and clapping and carrying on. I was sitting out there with him. And I just fantasized about being able to do that, being able to and he just had that. intangible thing about just putting the crowd in his hand when he first got on stage, and he kept them there all through the show. With his talk, with his jokes, with his songs, with everything about him, he just knew how to do it. And that's the thing about entertainers. It's kind of an innate sort of thing. You just do it. It becomes a part of you, and it's a situational thing. You got to do what, I'll change my set sometime. There'll be a certain crowd that'll want to. I know, well, this song will really work for this crowd. They're partying hard. Let's do this one. Or they're kind of laid back. Let's do this one.
How do you listen to music? Do you have an iPod, your iPhone? How do you do it?
I got an iPhone, I got an iPod. I miss my iPod too much. My iPad.
Okay. All right. Here's why I asked that. I think a lot of people be surprised that Charlie Daniels, Bob Dylan don't realize, I think, that you have existed in this world somewhere between rock and roll and country for quite some time. What would be the most surprising thing we'd find on your iPad, iPhone that you listen to?
You could find anything from bluegrass to classical, jazz, Charlie Parker, Bill Monroe, symphony orchestras, just whatever I felt like, straight ahead country, whatever I felt like listening to. A lot of Stevie Ray Vaughan, B.B. King, Love the Blues. Just whatever I feel like listening to at the time. I have different moods that I want to hear different things. See, the wonderful thing about music is there's only 12 notes of music in the whole world. You stop and think about it, it's a pretty amazing statement. But you combine them in different ways. You tease them and play with them and go this octave and that octave and the other octave. And so it's infinite the way you can use them. And that's the great thing about it. You can never, it's kind of like that perfect bracket thing that Warren Buffett just did. Nobody could win it.
$1 billion.
Well, it's kind of that way with music.
Did you fill one out?
No. It's kind of that way with music. It's infinite. You can't run out. There's an infinite amount of ways to combine those 12 notes.
No, I've heard about the mathematical side of music laid out like you're talking about. 12 notes, but infinite number of combinations. Mm-hmm. I think that's fascinating to think, because we think of music as such, it's art, and math is hard science, but yet they kind of meet somewhere there in the middle.
I've heard that, but I don't read music, so it don't basically apply to me. People told me that people who do good mathematics are good about reading and stuff. Now, I got a couple of guys that play with me. We went to Berkeley School of Music. We played with a symphony orchestra once in a while. I got a kid plays guitar, and he's got the score in front of him. He can read the score. And the only thing that saves me, when you miss it, if you get a beat behind with the symphony orchestra, you're off, because they ain't going to jam. They don't jam. What's on that page is what they play. That's carved in stone. And you got to play with them. You got to stay with them. If I'm just on stage with my band, you drop a bar or two, so everybody, I know what's going on. You just go on with it. You got 70 people sitting behind you, and they're going to keep doing what they're doing. And the only thing that saves me is Chris stands there, and he counts me in. He's reading that score. He's turning the pages and looking. Okay, 3 more. Me, but I don't do that. I can't read. I would like to be able to read music more, because I would like to write it than anything else. I wish I could take and just write a tune out.
Oh, as much as you write, yeah. I would imagine that would
be great to do that.
What's your favorite song of yours?
I don't really have one. It's kind of like asking me, who's your favorite kid? I've got songs that mean more to me than others. I got a song called Carolina, I Remember You. It was never a hit. But it has, it's about growing up at the time that I grew up in North Carolina, when you could drink water out of the branches, and the 2-lane blacktop highways and dirt roads and old wooden bridges across rivers, and that memories of, fall, the fall colors and the spring green up, and all that stuff that it just talks about it. And the odd thing about it was I wrote a piece of prose that about Carolina. I wrote a song called Carolina, I Remember You later on. And I was in the studio, we were overdubbing violins. And as I say, I know nothing about music, but I went out and told the conductor, have your guys take a section of this thing and double their notes. Make a half note a whole note, make a quarter note a half note, and so on and so forth, and see what you come up with. So he did it, and they came up with this thing. I went out and read my piece of prose, and it fit perfectly on top of what they were doing. So that is the introduction to the song. And we just put it together, and it works really well. It's like, first thing I remember, frosty Carolina mornings with cheery fire crackling in my mama's big black wood cook stove. And Remember snowflakes as big as goose feathers in the moon, the color of them, and you made country butter. Night sky like diamonds against black velvet, reaching from horizon to horizon. And it goes on. It's that kind of thing. And it goes into this thing, and it goes into this song called Carolina, Remember You.
I'll take this full circle. Since I started with Devil, went down to Georgia, I'm going to come back to it at the end.
Okay.
I know. What do you say to people who say the devil won that contest?
That's just a bunch of junk. The devil's part is nothing but noise. There's no style to it. There's no nothing to it. It's just it's like, turning up a bunch of white noise and having, just that sort of thing. It's just like overwhelming, like the devil does, But Johnny, now he's saying something. He's getting the job done. He's playing a melody. He's playing he's actually playing something you could whistle or hum. You can't hum a devil's part,
Right.
but you can hum it.
Charlie, I've enjoyed talking to you.
I've enjoyed talking to you.
Hey, let me ask you one. Do you like new country?
Oh yeah, I like some of it.
Yeah.
I don't like
Who
all
do you
of it.
like?
I don't really. I like Justin Moore. I don't really know their names.
Well, you know who I saw the other day showed up to your Soldiers for Heroes? Luke Bryan.
yeah, Luke's a good kid.
Tell me about Soldiers for Heroes. You don't have to take that off
Okay.
just yet. Soldiers for Heroes. You with scholarship
A
fund?
scholarship,
Yeah.
a Charlie Daniels Scholarship for Heroes. And it's a thing that we do in conjunction with Lipscomb University in Nashville, that we make sure that our men and women who have served in our armed forces, especially with an emphasis on the ones that were wounded, can get a college education. We started off with a handful, and we're up to 200 and some now.
So you put what? You saying over 200 soldiers?
There are
Scholarship.
over 200 ex-military involved in the program.
Right.
We started off with a handful.
That's great.